who's the Vice Chair of the Subcommittee on Africa, Global Health, and Global Human Rights, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Secretary, I know it is harder to end a war than start one in this town, so I thank you and the President for ending our longest war. Over the weekend, both the New York Times and Washington Post reported that August 29th drone strike that supposedly prevented a car bomb attack at the airport in Kabul instead killed Samari Ahmadi, an aid worker, and his family. The strike happened when there was a lot of eyes on Kabul, but it's not unusual for U.S. drone strikes to kill civilians. It is not unusual for the U.S. government to claim it killed terrorists instead. And this is coming on the heels of reporting that DOD failed to spend a single dollar of the redress payments that Congress has provided for civilian casualties. As Congress considers the continuing utility of the 2001 AUMF, how can you possibly ensure us that our drone strikes and over-the-horizon capabilities will actually reach their targets?
First, when it comes to moving forward, I hope that we can again take this up in a different setting and different session. I know with regard to the drone strike that you're referring to, that is being looked at very, very, very carefully by others in the administration, so that we understand exactly what happened or what didn't happen. And no country on earth, no government takes more effort, takes more precautions to try to ensure that anyone other than the intended terrorist target is struck using a drone or by any other means. But certainly we know that in the past, civilians have been hurt and have been killed in these strikes. And we have to make sure that we have in place every possible measure to allow us to continue to use the tool to defend and protect ourselves while avoiding anyone on the civilian side from being hit. And we also need to look, as you rightly said, at the authorizations going back to 2001 and 2002. We strongly support that. Those need to be updated to reflect present realities, not the reality as it was in 2001 or 2002.
And Mr. Secretary, from the State Department's point of view, what is the impact of the unaccountable and accountable civilian harm on our counterterrorism goals?
It certainly runs counter to those goals. Whenever there are civilian casualties, whenever there are unintended injuries or deaths, it does not advance what we're trying to do. And so that's besides the moral obligation we have to do everything we possibly can to make sure that civilians are not harmed or killed. It's also true that in terms of the mission itself, we want to make sure that doesn't happen, because if people lose faith and confidence in it, if they, and particularly in the countries in question, if people see it as a tool to do harm to innocent civilians as opposed to terrorists who are a threat to everyone, that will undermine support for what we're doing.
And in your role and previous roles in other administrations, how much of an analysis is being done to look at whether our counterterrorism efforts are actually being counter to the work that we are trying to do in ending terrorism around the world?
I would call it very, very significant. Certainly in the Obama administration, we spent a tremendous amount of time looking at, reviewing, and modifying all of these procedures, all of the safeguards, all of the criteria that went along with using these tools. And we've been in the midst of conducting just such a review in this administration. to make sure, to the best of our ability, that when we take a strike, we get the intended person and no one else.
Gentlelady's
and I
time has expired.